Oh, we're on. I'm always like distracted by my phone.
Oh, technology.
Exactly.
I mean, I know there's usually a delay, but still. So, how's everybody doing?
Making it.
Good.
Making
Yeah.
it.
All right.
Surviving the day.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Ready to chat about some Knots Landing.
Yes, me too. All
Nice.
right, let's get started. So, hi everybody. Welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Tommy, and as always, I'm joined by Aaron.
Hello.
And our Knots historian Lynn is with us.
Greetings, guys.
And hopefully Bill will be joining us at some point. We're having
Yeah.
a little bit of technical difficulties, but hopefully he'll be able to make it. So we're finally finishing Knots Landing season 4.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been forever, but also it feels like it went by so fast.
Exactly.
Made it to the end.
Yes.
Yes. When we left off, somebody was floating in the water, so I'm curious to hear what Aaron's got to say about all that now that he's watched more.
Here's what I got to say about all that. And that's what I had to say.
That was a lot.
I'm sad.
I hear ya. I'm sad too.
I mean, she wasn't really floating. She was more like beached.
But man, did she look beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the first episode is episode 19. It's called The Loss of Innocence.
And I lost mine.
No. You lost that a long time ago.
Not that long ago.
And a couple of joggers are the ones that first find CG's body on the beach.
Yes.
If there's one thing I've learned about television, don't jog on the beach.
Bill McKay joined.
Yes. Oh. Good point. At least it wasn't Val who came upon her first, so.
Yes, because Val is always running on the beach, so it could have been Val.
True.
Diana is packing for New York, much to Karen's dismay.
Hello.
Hi, Bill.
Bill. Oh, hopefully he can hear us.
Oh, I think we're still having technical difficulties.
I can see him, but I don't know if he can hear or see us. I'm not sure, but
yeah. So Diana's very nonchalant, just packing for New York. I told you I'm leaving with Chip.
Mm-hmm.
And Karen's the one that's freaking out.
I was going to say, she's pretty excitable about it and kind of tears into Diana. And I think, again, Mac is trying to be the peacemaker there and stay calm. And Karen kind of snaps at him and tells him to stay out of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a role reversal. Karen's the one that's like being dramatic and out of hand, while Diana's the calm and collected one.
Yeah.
As we watch these 4 episodes, because John watched them with me.
Yes.
When Karen has one of her moments, he just goes, "Is that all she does? Is yell?" I was like, I think so.
Oh, funny.
Laura is still very worried about CG.
Breaks my heart seeing my Laura go through all that.
And so she goes to like see Val, doesn't she? Or no, first doesn't she try and call?
She calls CG like constantly.
Right.
And to just get an update on what's going on.
Right. And then doesn't Richard, he's kind of snide and he's like, face it, honey, the love affair is over, or something like that.
Yeah.
The honeymoon's over.
There you go.
I was like, dang, Richard, dang.
He's cold.
But he also takes this as like an opportunity to think that they could work on their relationship. And Laura's kind of like, didn't I tell you to move out?
Right, exactly.
She's like, pack your shit and get out.
She's done with him.
So Gary wakes up on the beach, drunk.
Right.
And,
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Bill.
And I think can you hear us, Bill? Oh, he can hear us. I have a feeling, but I can't hear him. I don't know if anybody else can.
These 4 episodes just left him speechless.
So yeah, Gary wakes up on the beach and there's a child kind of staring at him. And the mom's like pulls him away because she thinks he's like a homeless.
For one, why are they just walking around under the dock or whatever that is?
Yeah, that kid must have got away from Mama, and Mama found him and then sees the strange man that's passed out and pulls her kid away.
Yeah. Gary doesn't really know how he ended up on the beach. And he wanders because he sees a crowd forming.
Yep.
And when he stumbles through the crowd, he sees CG's body.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes into mega shock, too. I mean, he was totally taken aback. I do like how Ted Shackelford plays kind of that shock and that grief in these scenes.
I did notice when he asked what's going on before he realized it was CG, how the people that were in the crowd kind of looked at him like, ew, get away from me.
Exactly. Get away, drunken stranger.
The way he looked, he looked rough.
Yeah, he did look rough. But then he just turned and ran after he saw her body because his coping skills just don't exist. He instantly needed that drink and ran all the way back to the beach house and goes in there and just starts downing the bottle of alcohol. And Abby sees him and she's like, do you know how disgusting you are? And he takes like a minute to answer her because he takes another swig and then he finally, tells her that CG's dead. And she's like, what? She's even in shock.
Yeah.
And then
Sue Ellen would probably love to have Gary around because then she can be like, see, I ain't the crazy drunk.
Exactly. I'm not the only one who has blackouts from drinking. He does too.
Mm-hmm.
Laura goes over to Val's to find Chip because she wants to see if he knows where CG is.
Right.
And he says that he's stopping by her apartment and she says she wants to go with him. But he says he has to talk to her about business. And she's like, fine, if she's there, I'll leave. And if not, we'll continue to look for her.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this show is the women are so strong. Like a man could tell them something and they're just like, okay,
Right.
fine. Whatever. I'm still coming. So
there's special guest Bill kind of makes a guest appearance really quick.
So Ginger's at home and she's fake playing the guitar. Did anybody notice that she was like strumming the strings but no sound?
Thank you. I had that written in my notes and I put exactly the thing. Ginger sings while fake strumming the guitar. I mean, she wasn't even getting those fingernails anywhere near those strings.
Yeah.
It was funny.
But she was really singing.
She was.
she's just kind of like, finally got a plot, got something to play with. Yay. Have something to do in Knox Landing.
But isn't it funny that now Kenny all of a sudden has this epiphany like, oh, you're great. And I had all this right in front of me and I didn't see it. It was just kind of funny.
And she's like, I've been telling you this for 4 seasons.
Well, what's funny is we were all kind of blinded by CG, though.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, it would be hard to stand out next to her.
Yes. Agreed.
I still want to know what happened to Ginger's teaching career. Did she just like quit after she had Erin Molly? I just had to say her name one more time.
I forgot about it, so she must have forgot about it too. Who knows?
So yeah, Mac is the one that identifies CG's body. And he knows.
But here let me back up before we say this. I thought it was interesting. I think it happened when Laura and Chip went over to CG's apartment and she wasn't there, obviously. And then how was it? And this is the weird thing that I thought. Chip pulls out a jacket from behind a pillow and Laura turns and looks at it and goes, oh, that's Gary's. He was over here. And it's like, how would she know that's Gary's? But they had to like cement that in the plot to help him look guilty or whatever.
Well,
But then
maybe she saw him wearing it.
you're right, that could be the case. And I'm trying to remember exactly how it went. If it happened at CG's apartment or if it happened before Laura went over there. She calls the beach house and the phone rings forever, and Gary was going to answer it, and Abby stops him, and sure enough it's Laura, and she's asking to want to talk to Gary because she wants to know if he's seen CG or whatever. And Abby lies and is like, oh, I haven't seen Gary, I don't know, I'll have him give you a call or something like that.
That's so shocking. Abby lies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, now you can chat about Max identifying the body.
So Matt,
so sad.
It was. So Matt goes to identify the body, and there's an investigating officer, detective there, and they seem to know each other.
I was going to say there must have been some past chemistry there with him and Janet.
It was funny because as he sees CG and he's in shock, and he identifies her, and they're kind of talking shop, but she's slipping in, haven't seen you in a while, like small talk in between the investigations.
Right.
And he's just like, she kind of thinks he's responding to it, but then he's just kind of like, what are you saying to me?
Well, and doesn't she even say too, I heard you got married or something like that?
Yeah, and he's just like, huh?
Because I think he's just in shock too when he sees the body and realizes it's CG, and he's like, it's personal. And it's like all of a sudden Mac is just becoming the superhero again, and he wants to be in charge and figure this out.
Yeah. He also wants to know what she's doing there because she's a homicide detective.
Right.
So.
And then the autopsy guy is like, oh, we're backed up or whatever. And he's like, make it a priority. We need to know cause of death right away.
I recognize the autopsy guy from Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, he missed. Mm-hmm.
It's the Carusi.
Look at you guys.
Mr. Carusi. I was like,
what?
He played Leah Remini was on for like a summer run, so she was in like maybe 5 episodes, and he played her father.
It's crazy when I think about that. I feel like Leah was on that show longer than what she was.
Right.
Because just as a kid, I remember her being there for a long time.
Sure.
And no, she wasn't.
Funny.
They just replayed those same episodes over and over. That I thought that.
Yeah, true.
So I guess one by one, the residents of the cul-de-sac are finding out about CG's passing.
I had to remind myself that, man, news would travel slow.
Well, because you couldn't text it.
Yes.
Right.
Like, just it's crazy how massive things have got where you know what's happening right as it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Laura is devastated. Absolutely devastated.
I know. I felt her. I was like, here, I'll hug you, Laura. Come here.
So Mac and what's her name?
Janet
Beans are there. They're the ones that tell her, and she starts to lash out at Richard. Like, are you happy? You got what you probably got what you wanted.
Right.
Which kind of makes Richard look guilty the way she's lashing out at him.
And he's like, she's hysterical.
Yeah.
The way all these people acted, though, made them all seem suspicious.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the storyline, of course. But the only one that doesn't look suspicious is sweet little Miss Lily Mae.
And Lily Mae starts throwing Gary under the bus right away to Janet when Janet comes and gives the news to Val and Lily Mae. And she's like, well, you should be talking to Gary. He gets Val so upset. Gary's so guilty of this. Gary. And Val didn't like that. She was like,
no.
Kind of, you can see her being defensive internally right away.
I will say, during these 4 episodes, I really liked Lily Mae. I didn't think it would happen.
Right?
But I did. I was like, okay, I'm coming around for you, Miss Lily Mae.
Yep, exactly.
Just don't bring up that thing.
What's the word? Histrionic. She definitely turned on the histrionics, but I wasn't mad at her. It made sense.
Right.
I have a note that says most depressing Monopoly game ever.
Is that the only game they play in that house? Is Monopoly, so that they can teach each other how to cheat and steal.
Right.
Because Olivia, I mean, Abby has to be going, oh God, she's becoming me. Because I'd be thinking, oh God, you're becoming me. And when you're older, oh, I'm in trouble.
I know.
Because you can tell that is Abby's daughter. Some of the things she's like,
Right.
just that look, like that smirk. I'm like, child.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wait till she gets older.
Yeah.
So Abby, I guess, is trying to make things look normal for the kids.
But Gary's not coping well, sitting there trying to.
And they both look miserable. They're just sitting there playing the game, but they look miserable. And Gary says that if he doesn't have a drink, his head's gonna explode.
Exactly.
The look on their face had nothing to do with what was going on with their lives. It was that they're having to play Monopoly, and they've been playing it for 5 hours, and they're ready for it to be done.
But then meanwhile, you never hear it, but all of a sudden you realize the radio's on and you hear the announcer making a statement about CG's dead, and they announce it over the radio of a parent drowning.
Don't you just love that in a TV show when it's like there's no radio whatsoever on? News bulletin. I'm like, with Alexa, it makes sense, but
I never even thought about that there was no music playing.
There wasn't. I didn't hear any. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, a radio announcement's going. It's like, okay, it's funny.
So Detective Baines makes her way over to the beach house to question Gary and Abby.
I like her.
Gary starts to talk, and Abby's like, shut up, because she doesn't know what he's going to say. And he lies and says that he says he got drunk, but he says that he came home and slept at home.
Right. But then Abby cuts him off too, and she says, if you have any further questions, I'd appreciate you going through our lawyer. She kind of shut it down right away.
Yeah.
But then, do you have this in your notes? What did Janet say?
She lets him know that the autopsy showed that CG was pregnant.
I don't understand why television always, if you say, well, I want to get my lawyer, it's automatically, you must be guilty. But actually, it's just the smart thing to do.
It's just my rights as a citizen.
Yeah. If you're arrested, don't talk to them, because what are they doing? Trying to get a confession. Like they're trying to hurry and close that case. I'd be like, I want my lawyer. Yep. Then we can have a discussion. And it has nothing to do with are you guilty or innocent. It just is the smart thing to do.
Right.
So that,
yes.
Agreed. So towards the end, all of the residents of the cul-de-sac are questioned, and they all get made to look guilty at some point. Richard was lying. He's like, oh, CG. She's just a nice girl. He made it seem like they go on picnics on Sunday. Loves her.
He was trying to change his tune really quick.
Is this when Baines says something about her possibly having a lesbian relationship with Laura?
I think so.
I believe so. I can't remember 100%.
They worked so hard to tiptoe around saying that word lesbian.
Right.
It was
the 80s.
The honeymoon's over.
That's the first time they flat out said it, though. They've only alluded to it.
Right.
Bill just popped in to say hi, I guess.
Poor Bill. The internet's being naughty to him tonight.
I will say, though, I like Janet. I like her.
I know. I feel like I've seen her elsewhere. I just can't think where.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, she's good.
She looks so familiar, and I know I've looked up her IMDb before, and I've seen her in nothing.
I'm sure she's done like Hotel, Love Boat, Fantasy Island, all those that were on back then.
Maybe.
She's in the soap multiverse.
Right.
So Gary is formally questioned with a lawyer. And he admits that he lied at the beach house, that he says he was drunk, and he tells them that he woke up on the beach. And it ends with him being arrested for CG's murder.
I was going to say, because he had those two cops, now Janet and her colleague or partner, and I can't remember his name, both.
I'm sure they mentioned it, but I could not remember his name.
Exactly. But it made him screw up. And then, I think he's like, did you kill her? And he's like, yes. No, I don't know. And it's like, oh, that's not a good look. Yeah.
So, all in all, how would you rate the episode?
This one was really good. 7.
I'd give it a 7.
I'd say 7. Yes, I agree.
Okay.
You joined.
So episode 20 is called The Fatal Blow. Sounds like an exciting title.
Right.
Um, so Gary plans to plead guilty at his hearing. Abby says more than anything she wants him home.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And he says, more than anything, I want to drink.
I know. It's like Gary, Abby's here, the booze is here. You know, addiction. That's such a. They played that well because like a lot of time in television, you just by the end of the episode, oh, I'm not ever going to drink again.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that's all they talk about. Gary, no.
Reporters,
Yeah.
reporters are swarming at Valine's house.
Right.
And Chip thinks that she should make a statement, and she doesn't want to talk to them.
So doesn't he go out there and try and be her press man again?
Yeah,
He's
But he
his own
basically-
worst enemy.
he basically just says she's not going to make a comment, and she won't be making a comment for the foreseeable future. But it doesn't make them go away; they still stick around.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
So the lawyer lets Abby know that Gary is facing 25 years to life for first-degree murder.
If convicted.
Mm-hmm. And to everybody's surprise, Gary actually pleads not guilty. And bail is set at $5 million.
Yeah, that's a hefty price, and I don't think they can tap into that money even with Gary's inheritance.
No, because he
No.
only gets to live off of the
Million?
of
Isn't
the
Or the interest,
interest.
of 10 million?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were saying like, what's the principal on it?
Right.
But I don't understand. I don't remember how can he not touch it?
He can't. He has to.
It had to mature to a certain level or number of years before he could.
Yeah, his.
I think there was 5 years or something like that before he could really get his hands on that 10 million.
Yeah, it was.
Wasn't it like he could have $1 million a year or something?
Jock
or 2 million?
Jock made it to where he couldn't just get the money in one lump sum.
Right.
Because he knew how Gary was.
So this is another cringeworthy scene, another of Gary's, him screaming in the cell while he was going through withdrawals.
Detox, yeah.
It's not as bad as the "We're Ruining Lives" scream, but it's close.
He starts yelling, grabbing those hands on the bar. Guard! Let me out of here!
And I'm just like, oh, stop it. Just stop.
But when we see him later in the episode and he's in the bed just having the shakes, I thought he played that excellent. And Abby's trying to talk to him and get him to understand. She might need him to sign some papers and stuff because she's worried because she's not married and the money could go away and stay with Gary and she can't get her grubby hands on it. And he's just, all he's wanting is a drink. I thought there he played that just perfectly.
Oh yeah, and then he started to have like seizures, and they like had to put that
Right?
in his mouth so he wouldn't bite his tongue.
Exactly.
That was really realistic.
Yes.
So Val tells Karen that she and CG fought at her apartment, and she pushed her, and that CG fell and hit her head.
Correct.
But that she was still conscious, and she actually screamed for Val to leave and get out, and that's how she left for her. Because she's kind of feeling guilty and blaming herself.
Sure.
And Karen's just telling her, like, no, like, anything could have happened. Like, she could still be fine, and you wouldn't have anything to blame yourself for. Like,
But then later in bed, when Karen and Mac are talking before they go to sleep, Mac reveals that CG died in her apartment from most likely a blow to the head, and then somebody went and dumped her body in the water, and Karen's kind of like remembering Val's story, and she's a little bit weirded out by it.
yeah.
So then doesn't Karen eventually tell Val that CG did die from a blow to the head? And Val starts thinking.
Yes. Well, that happens later on. First, Laura and Richard go to clean out CG's apartment.
True.
Before that, let me rewind. There's a moment where Richard talks about his brother dying because he's kind
He
of
was
trying to.
15 or something, I think.
Yeah, and Laura's like, I know that, but he's trying to connect with her and tell her like he understands what the grief that she's feeling, I guess.
And he kind of says, like, she's always with you or something like that, or that's how he tries to feel about his brother, too. He is trying to, in Richard's way, he's trying to comfort her because he is realizing she's grieving this loss.
And it really made me, like, I've been liking Richard this season more, but I did feel for Richard because he's just trying everything. He's just desperate at this point to get his wife.
Yes, to remember, grief is just a funny thing.
But I also understand where she's coming from with their relationship because she's tried to leave him so many times to the point that he held her at gunpoint, like, and she still went back to him against her better wishes or judgment.
That right there is emotional.
So she's done.
Why? Because he plays on that with her,
right?
And that's why she stayed.
Yeah.
I wish they would have touched into that. But I guess back then they didn't really talk about things like that.
So then they go to empty out CG's apartment, and CG's mother shows up.
And
she was not too nice about her daughter.
Aaron's
getting protective. I see it happening.
I was like, you get out of her apartment. You go and you don't ever come back.
He's like, don't you speak of my CG like that.
And she's like, I will pick up her stuff. I was like, the hell you will. That stuff ain't no.
But then what's shocking about that scene is after she's kind of talking derogatory about her daughter, like, oh, you know, she lost her way and this and that, and she didn't have morals and blah, blah, blah. Richard, of all people, is the one to come to CG's defense. And Laura's over side-eyeing, listening to what he's got to say about CG. But again, how ironic is how this goes.
Yeah, Laura didn't say anything. It was all Richard that defended her.
Yes.
I did like when Richard stood up, but he only did that for Laura.
Right.
He didn't do that for CG. He did.
I think in some, I don't know. I felt like, so this is why I'm a Laura, because I would have fell for it every time. I felt like he looked sincere.
Granted, we've gone through probably like about 4 episodes since the haircut. Her hair is looking a little bit better. It's not quite as short as it was. Are you okay with it, Aaron, or are you still like, damn, why'd she cut her hair?
I'm okay with it now. It looks better on her.
Yeah, it's grown out a little bit. I think Bill can hear us.
Are you with us,
Can
Bill?
you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hey, okay.
Nice.
Yay, Bill's here.
Operating difficulties for the moment.
Yeah.
Yes, her hair's growing out. A little better.
Little bit longer.
A little bit better. Yes, a little longer. But very 80s. Very Living in John physical.
True.
Yes.
Nice.
I do hear a bit of an echo, Bill, so I don't know if you can lower the volume a little bit.
I'll lower the volume.
You can go a little bit, maybe lower, and then you can hopefully still hear us.
How's that?
I think that's better. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I just want to see Laura smile. Have a true
Yeah, she
smile.
doesn't. The only smile we're going to see is when she's playing with baby Daniel in these episodes, but
I still think that she doesn't realize her feelings for CG are real, and that's why she just rejects Richard. I'm looking at these episodes so differently now than I ever have.
Funny.
For that reason. Yeah.
Right.
It's just, yeah. So I never understood, like, why she's so bad. Like, what did Richard do this time? He didn't really do any. All the other times he's done something. He's slimy or whatever. This time he kind of, except for what he did with CG, but she kind of got turned off him before that.
Well, when she saw her grab CG, when she saw Richard grab CG by the back of her hair, that was kind of, as we all said, the final straw that really just made her go, done.
Yeah.
That's why the beginning of this episode, she's just like, "Didn't I tell you to move out?"
Right. All right, you still here?
So Chip confides in Lily Mae that he had a brief affair with CG.
It's like, you little bastard.
And he's afraid to tell the police because he feels like it'll have nothing to do with the investigation. But is it public knowledge that she was pregnant? Is that why he?
No, he knew they'd find out during the autopsy.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So
So
it's always one step ahead.
Lily Mae encourages him. She's like, "You have nothing to hide, nothing criminal anyway."
Go talk to the police and tell them what you know.
Yeah.
They would have had no clue it was him, though, if he wouldn't have said anything, because they didn't have that technology back then. He could have just
Right.
he would have kept his mouth shut.
Right. But when he goes to the police, he does confess that he had a brief affair with her. And then they realized it wasn't going to work out and he was just going to be her manager and stuff like that. But then she even says, "Would you submit to a blood test?" So, yeah, back then all they could do is a blood test to try and associate some paternity. And he says, "Oh, yeah, sure." But inside, he's got to be going, "Oh, shoot."
Yeah.
He
So then,
he didn't know he was going to be the same blood type as Gary. So I think he was. You're right. I think they would realize that Gary was not the father.
Right?
Yeah.
I laughed when the other detective said this chick had a thing for guys with O positive blood.
Oh, I know. It's like, ooh, that's some good writing. I think Chip's thing, though, is he's so narcissistic. He wasn't part of the investigation.
Right?
So he found a way to get into the investigation and make it a little bit about him.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So Jeff Munson comes to see Val. I thought we were done with him. I thought he was already gone for the season.
Tick, tick, tick.
I like him in this scene though.
He's a nice guy. I just don't think they have romantic chemistry.
No.
He's kind of a dud, though.
Yeah.
When he's on scene, it's
Well,
like,
he realizes too how in love with Gary Val still is.
Yeah, he's going back to New York and he's trying to get Val to come with him just to get away from the chaos. And she's not budging. Gary's in jail. She's staying put.
Yep.
Yet she's mixed up because she's like, "I love you, Jeff."
And he goes
I'm like,
over, walks up the stairwell, and just stops, and his shoulders kind of go down, but then he keeps on going because he realizes what's the point.
And then Lily Mae says,
Yeah.
"You're a fool to let him go."
oh, yeah, he got lots of
I was
money.
like, he's good on paper, but
Yeah.
But he's down to his best recording artist, so yeah, let him go. Bye.
But he does tell her, I'll always be here for you if you need anything. I'm like, all
That
right,
classic line, and then you never see him again.
That's it.
good. So Karen's overplaying Gin Rummy with Lily Mae and Val.
Yeah.
But she has ulterior motives. You could see it on her face. She wants to talk to Val about the day that she fought with CJ.
Right.
Because she now knows that's how she died, a blow to the head. So then Val kind of recalls the argument, and she tells Val that that's how CG died.
Right.
Then we're
Now-
in full Val mode.
And that
after that.
really festers in Val because
Oh,
she's
my.
upset that Gary's being held for CG's murder.
Right.
Yeah. So she puts her makeup on. She puts on her dress with her belt. She puts her boots on.
Her big '80s belt
She's wearing her cowgirl boots, Aaron.
again.
Put those cowgirl boots on.
And Lily Mae trying to stop her.
Yeah, she walks outside like determined, but I love these dramatic pauses that she has. Like when she gets to the bottom of the stairwell, she stops, and Lily Mae's there like,
Yep.
"Don't, please don't. I'll do anything you want. I'll live in a house I'll live under the stairs, so you won't have to see me." Just kidding, but
I love Lily Mae in this scene, though. I think she's brilliant. She's
Yeah,
full
she
on
is.
Julie Harris. Brilliant.
she is. She's upset because
And she's
even
by
like
the
Karen
fence,
Mack are hearing
yeah.
all the noise next door,
Yeah.
wondering what's going on.
Well, Val is also a little bit self-centered. She
Mm-hmm.
thinks that Gary's doing this to protect her.
Yes.
She thinks that when he called, she heard the ocean, so that Gary must have found CG's body
Right.
and then dumped her body in the ocean to protect her.
It's a big leap.
I'm like,
It's a huge.
but you know, because she's like, we're in love, obviously.
Right.
Funny.
uh,
So are we at the end of that episode? Should we be rating it?
hold on, I got lost in my notes.
Okay. Because then I feel like
Oh,
Shelby
Abby
does
does
Then I
the car
killed
drives
CG.
to the police station
Right.
and
and that's when
confesses.
Lily Mae's like, why'd you have to tell her that to Karen?
Yes. Mm.
Abby doesn't want to post bail for Gary. She thinks that he would be better off in a detox program or a sanitarium. And Valine shows up at the police station and says that she killed CG.
And then it closes
Right.
out. Yes.
The end of that episode.
I'd give this episode a 9.
I was going to say, I was thinking like an 8 or 9. I'd probably give it a 9 too, because there's some good dramatic buzz that happened with all the characters in this one.
Yep. I give it a 9.
Aaron?
I'll
So-
go with 8.5.
Still good. That's still good.
Not bad.
Did I miss discussion of Janet? I really love Janet. She's one of my favorite characters that kind of passed through and her and Mac have like there's a spark there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
we
they
mentioned
play it very well. The past, they have a past spark.
We mentioned that when he identified CG's body, that she was talking shop, but she was also slipping in like, "I heard you got married,"
Right.
and and he's just like so in shock that he's like, "What?"
Yeah.
So episode 21 is called "The Burden of Proof." I wrote both Gary and Chip have typo blood, so that funny line must have been in this episode. So there's no definitive paternity.
Yeah.
Going off of what Gary has said, though, that he's blacked out, I don't think that they slept together.
There's
I don't
no
think
way.
so.
There's no way.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Half the time when he's blacking out, he's passing out. I'm sorry. When he's at that stage, performance-wise, I'm sure it's not happening.
Yeah.
I love these little meetings with Gary and Abby and the lawyer through the glass. He's just like so not interested.
Right.
He doesn't leave anything. He doesn't care about anything Abby's
He
saying.
drifts off, yeah.
Did anyone see that the kid brought goldfishes to their visit?
Oh yeah, he was like zoned
That
out watching
goldfish.
this kid with the goldfish, and Abby's like, "What is he staring at?"
Right.
Yeah, but my thing is, a kid brought goldfishes to a prison visit.
Right? Kind of weird.
Very
of all
strange.
things.
Yes.
Must
Maybe
have
they were at a
been
street
fair.
fair before they got to the prison.
That's what it looks like in the little bag. Yeah.
Funny.
We throw the balls in the fish bowls to win the goldfish. So Gary signs over the power of attorney. Doesn't even care. He's just like, whatever. Which makes Abby happy.
Meanwhile, they're trying to double book practically another suspect with Val because they're holding her from her confession. And Lily Mae's all upset and starts yelling at Abby.
Right. That was great too.
Blaming her for everything. Every bad thing that's ever happened in the cul-de-sac.
Like,
Yes.
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 So good. Out of control. Lily Mae's on fire.
The broken string on her auto harp is Abby's fault when
Yeah.
it comes down to the end of the day.
For a long way for the auto harp.
If I was Valine, I would take a scissors to that auto harp.
I don't think we see it again.
Well, now that you said that, we probably will.
Right. Now I said that probably will. Exactly.
So Janet Baines tells Abby that Valine has confessed to the murder, and Abby starts laughing. Because she's like,
Great.
"It's so Val, stand by your man."
And even the lawyer's like, "Why are you laughing?"
I was right there with Abby. I was laughing too. I
So good.
was like, okay, Val, you did it.
Right.
But she quickly turns when if she's saying anything to implicate Gary in the murder, she's like, she's a liar. She's crazy.
Right. Right.
You can't believe anything she says.
Right.
Those cops are probably like, this street.
So I got a little sad because I always remember the scene of Richard fixing the drain pipe,
Oh, yeah.
and I didn't realize that it was the second to last episode. So I'm like, oh no, we're here.
It's happening already. I know
As soon as
because
he
Karen's
started
trying to
picking
invite him over
stuff,
for
I was
dinner.
like, oh, you leaving. That's right.
Starts fixing all the things on the house.
The scene with him fixing the drain pipe is his last scene with Karen, so I got a little emo.
Yep.
Yeah. It's such a great. He's happy being married. She's happy being married again.
Right.
Yeah.
She says she loves it.
Very sweet dynamic. But
I don't feel sorry for Richard. All of his problems were brought on himself.
You are cold-hearted.
I don't know.
He's about to leave his young son and baby, even after that speech.
But he always
Because
feels like
Laura
he fails
doesn't
them.
Laura doesn't want him.
Yeah, and he
He's
feels
finally
like he's
accepted it.
That
right.
doesn't mean you just up and leave your children.
Yeah, I get it.
That's true. But the ongoing theme, he's always felt he's failed them. So
In some ways,
I don't know.
he has. Sorry,
Okay.
he cheated on her with Laura right there. Like, I'm sorry, I'm on Laura's side here.
I love when he fixes the garage and the door almost falls on Kenny.
Right. He's trying to make plans to go to the restaurant.
Also, why should I be sad? He left Laura with that restaurant to have to take
Yeah.
care of all of it. Yeah,
That, I
he
think,
took the money, but I was just like, dude.
yeah,
He
it
paid
was-
off the loan on it and everything, though.
Right. Yeah. That's when she knows something's up.
Yeah,
So,
but now
yeah.
all those people, if Laura doesn't want to take care of that job, that restaurant, they lose their job. I'm like, thanks, Richard. Yeah, sorry, I have no. Bye,
That was a
bye,
great.
girl, bye.
That was a great scene for Laura, though. After she realized he was gone and she
I was like,
trashed the kitchen.
I was like, you destroy that kitchen, girl. Get
He
it.
was angry.
I laughed, though, because after she did trash the kitchen, she paused for a minute,
Hmm.
and then she just tips over one last rack.
Mhm.
Wow.
So Kenny debates whether or not he should visit Gary in prison. And Ginger says that he should, because they're still friends.
Mhm.
Jeff Munson's trying to get him to come work for him.
They're such good friends. After the next episode, we never see or hear them again.
Yep. Oh.
I'll always be here for you.
Yep.
Val is officially booked and fingerprinted.
I loved her little. Yeah.
The cop was nice, but he was stern. He told her everybody gets fingerprinted, even cops
Right.
do when they get in the force. That was sweet to kind of talk her through it. But then she walks to get her mugshot taken, and she has her back to the camera. He's like, I can't take a picture like that. You gotta turn around.
And then he says, "Can you remove the earrings?" And she's like, "Will I get these back?"
Oh, Valine.
So Gary's lawyer tells Abby she needs to decide what she wants: Gary and Val apart, or Gary out of prison.
Right.
And she pauses
Because
and
get-
thinks on that one.
Yeah, because she's kind of in her feelings about it. She's like, this isn't her business. I don't know why she always has to insert herself.
Hmm.
She has this power over him, which is an interesting flip, because season 3, you would kind of think it would be Val saying that about Abby.
Right.
Right.
So Baines is retracing Gary's steps with him at the beach, and he can't remember how he got there. He just remembers waking up and then seeing the body.
Right.
And then Val's with the other detective at
Right.
CG's apartment, kind of replaying what happened when she had the argument with CG.
Right.
And Gary and Baines show up,
And all hell breaks loose.
Dramatic
All
scene.
hell breaks
Carrie,
loose.
down, stay away from me.
Both Gary and Val were like the Energizer Bunny, and they just got
Oh my
plugged in at that
god.
moment.
Yeah. She's like, I didn't tell them anything.
Yeah. It's just so funny how they just like start screaming.
Just randomly, I mean, Val's like rabid and shaking everywhere. She's not down to her meat, Gary. She's like just totally all over the place.
Gary.
So Lily Mae's encouraged to go home by the police officers because they're going to keep Val for one more night.
Right.
And while she's having dinner with Chip, she tells him that she wants him to pack his bags and move out.
Good for her.
Yeah, all of a sudden she
Finally.
turned on him. She was upset and she's like, out of the house.
She says that all the trouble started when he stole Val's pages.
Right. And Gary started drinking because of the magazine.
And she also kind of makes it seem like she's always been on to him. But she was like into the flattery and the flirting.
Right.
Oh,
That's
you
what
know she
said.
was.
She even admitted it. She goes, I was a fool to be flattered by your...
Everyone on this screen would be a fool to be flat. We'd all get flattered by Chip and fall for it.
But it was kind of like,
Oh.
I wonder if then in the previous episode, you know, even though she told him, no, you should go talk to the police after he confessed to Lily Mae that he and CG had slept together, she kind of filed that away. And then when Val goes and confesses and the police keep holding her, that's when Lily Mae starts losing her shit and she goes off on Abby and she does the same thing to Chip because she's just kind of headed that her daughter could end up going down for this and she knows damn well she didn't do it.
Yeah. She tells him she won't listen to his lies any longer.
Yeah.
This was a cute scene. So Karen and Mac are discussing the case, and they're kind of like playing what if, like if each of the neighbors were the guilty one.
Yeah.
Sounds
And
like
Mac
something John would do.
And in between this, they're like, should we make a salad? And then they just like continue like their little dance. I love them.
Yeah, they're very cute in this scene.
When he mentions Richard, and she's like, no, not Richard. And he's like, he held his wife at gunpoint last year. She like immediately jumps to his defense. She's like,
I
he wasn't in
know.
his right mind. It wasn't
It was a
himself.
nervous breakdown.
I don't get her thing for Richard.
I think she feels very sisterly and brotherly in their relationship, so that's why
Right.
she's so protective.
She accepts the flaws.
Right.
Right.
Because I feel
And
like
that part of me still feels like Karen has some empathy for Richard because Richard was kind of like the first one to come see her at the hospital over Sid's accident. And he brought her breakfast.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he gave her all this advice and he took care of things. Because a year before that, Richard was trying to represent Sid when he was being accused of raping the hitchhiker that he picked up on
Oh,
the road. And then he did some dirty pool by going to try and pitch
Pay
some
them off.
favors and buy off this gal to clear the case. And, you know, Sid got upset about it and Karen got upset too with Richard. But then after that, she like forgave him and she's just been 100% a Richard fan ever since.
And
Jazz.
she was the only one that could call him on his shit, and he would kind of like back down.
Yeah, all
Right.
the time. Yeah.
That's
Sorry.
why I was sad during the drain pipe scene.
Team
Oh,
Laura.
I love the drain pipe scene.
Right?
Go ahead, Aaron. I'm sorry.
I was just saying Team Laura all the way.
Haircut and all.
Haircut and all.
You can be
Even
Team Laura and still like Richard, though.
So Karen wants to see Val, and Mac's like, I'm not a miracle worker. And next scene, she's in to see Val. So Baines tells Mac that CG had 2 blows to the head.
Right.
So that means somebody came and finished the job.
Right.
And Mac and Karen end up bringing Val home. Abby tries to explain to Olivia about Gary's alcoholism because I guess some kids are like poking fun at her for because it's all over the news. So she explains to him that he has an illness, and if he even has one sip of alcohol, he gets sick.
And then she kind of says, well, I'm just a little kid. Because she was hearing her mom talk to that lawyer about Gary and doing some kind of shifty dealings too. And she kind of
Oh, that's right. That's right.
She
Yeah.
wanted to kind of play a little innocent. because she didn't really want to acknowledge her mother's behavior because she had
That
a feeling
little kid is smart.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, this begins
That's
to-
probably one of
yeah.
her first awakenings to how sure
Right.
her mother can be. So that's some foreshadowing, Aaron. There's more to come.
Right.
I
You
have
will
a
see
note.
that more in season 5, where she just gradually becomes aware of how her mother can be.
I have a note. So Olivia goes to bed, and Abby's kind of like, losing it a little, and she throws a glass. And I laughed because she like whipped her hair back.
Oh,
Okay, good hair toss.
I'm like, I almost want to buy a wig just so I can have moments like that.
Don't you know? I do.
that's awesome,
I was like, ooh, good hair whip.
right?
I never noticed how, and I'm not trying to talk about someone's weight, but Donna Mills is tiny.
She is.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
so, she was just some of the shots going, dang, like,
Right.
you're tiny. Like, you look, oh my, I did not realize that.
Right.
Well, she's wearing a lot of loungewear in this episode, so it's not like big outfits or anything. So you can see she's thin.
True.
Plus, it was the
Yeah.
80s with the baggier clothes.
Well, I
and
just mean,
the
like, I
shoulder
think,
pads.
like, her as a person, I feel like she's probably really, really, like, one of those tiny people, like, tiny
Yeah.
people that you just don't expect because you see them on TV.
Right.
Right.
So Abby calls Dallas to kind of downplay to the Ewing family what's going on.
I like that you
And we
said
find
she
out-
called Dallas. She
Mm.
called
Well, because I want to get to the line. Well, I want to get to the line where she says, I guess the person on the other side said, please call me Miss Ellie. So she's like, all right, Miss Ellie. So there's a little Dallas connection there.
A little bit.
Yeah, for Gary being Miss Ellie's favorite, it's funny we never saw Miss Ellie come visit Knots Landing.
See, I was thinking this would have been perfect for a crossover episode.
Mm.
Mhm.
Because you have him in jail for a murder.
Right.
That's
Right.
amazing. That's got to look bad for the Ewing name.
Yeah, Abby's like, no, don't come here. It's just rumors. Like,
Right.
Then again, I
okay,
guess
so
that wasn't probably a murder that made national news, though. So that's why Dallas probably wouldn't see it.
so Richard has a final scene with Jason,
Oh, it's very sweet.
and he kind of peeks in on Laura, who's playing with the baby, and he to the baby, but Laura doesn't know that he's there. And I almost cried.
Well, Aaron, what did you think of it?
No feeling.
It's like you SOB, just up and leaving your family.
What the hell?
After you just had this, and then when Jason comes in, is all, "Where's Dad? Where's Dad? I want to show him my assessment."
He takes a picture of the family with him, and then he
Mhm.
stops at the end of the block and gets out and takes one last look at the cul-de-sac.
Right.
And I'm like, come back, Richard, just go back.
I'm over here. Good ratings. Keep going.
It was
Although
poignant.
that shot of the cul-de-sac
Yeah.
actually showed how short the block is.
True.
I was like, yep, that's accurate.
Accurate. But it was poignant that they did give him such a big scene because I
Yeah.
think they wanted the audience to know as well as they wanted to do homage to the character that he's
Right.
going.
Yeah. Because he was a major character. It was, they kind of ended. And they, a lot of those shows didn't do that then. They just sort of weren't seen again, which we'll see one episode later.
Yeah.
So that's the series regular wrap on John Clichette.
Hmm.
Ah,
But I think he still sticks around as like a writer, doesn't he?
A
Doesn't he
director.
write?
He directs and
And a
writes.
director.
Yeah, you
He
see his
directs.
name a lot. On again.
I don't think he does write anymore after this. After his character left the
Oh,
show,
no?
I don't think he writes anymore. But he did come back and direct a few times.
Yes.
Okay.
I think he did a great job portraying the character. He did a really, really good job.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Can't stand the character,
Yeah,
but
that's
mainly
fair.
because how he treats his wife
I-
and treats his
right.
kid.
I appreciate the actor much more now than I did as a younger
Yeah.
watching.
I know
Yeah.
he went through some things, and if he would have probably worked together with Laura,
Aw.
been a little different, I probably would feel a little differently.
Right.
But he blamed Laura all the time for so many things, not believing in his dreams and da da da. I don't know. I have issues when it comes to stuff like that. Sorry.
Well, he was like the last of this, like the '70s dominant, the wife stays home and cooks kind of husbands.
Yeah.
Because when he lost his job, she went out and got a job.
Yeah.
He
Mm,
And
was
then
mad
she
about
made,
it.
then she made a little bit of money, and he's like, "Oh,
Oh, and he was jealous when her one commission was more than he made in a
You
year.
remember that? Yeah.
He felt very. I think it's safe to say he probably felt very emancipated by her.
Emasculated.
Very good.
Then on top of it, if he thinks his wife is like doesn't have an interest in him and would rather have an interest in another woman, that probably really just made him go, I'm done. I
I
can't.
I can see where he
Right.
could end up with that. Where he not because it's a woman, but because she was connecting with someone the way
Right.
he couldn't connect to Laura.
Right.
Yeah, he was more upset with CG than he was with Scooter.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
that
I give this episode a 9.
I'm gonna go 8.
I'll give it a 9. I like the way they closed out Richard. I like the way they finished a lot of
I'll give it an 8.
the
I
Val
should have given it a 10 because
Yeah.
Richard left.
Oh,
Ooh.
I gave it a 9 because it's not like an episode that I'm like, oh my god, this is my favorite episode.
right.
There were a lot of moments that I loved. I love Val and Gary like screaming at each other.
Out of these 4 episodes, this was my least favorite. I felt like it dragged a little bit.
I like
Tommy loves the drain pipe scene.
I
So
love the drain pipe scene. I like Abby's hair flip.
Yeah. That's
There were
awesome.
moments that made it for me. All right, so now we're on to the season finale, episode 22, which is
Very
called
exciting.
Willing Victims.
There we go.
So Chip is still at Val's house, even though Lily Mae told him to move out after dinner.
right, that really struck me funny this time. Weren't you thrown out?
A cockroach that just will not go away.
Takes a while for him to like
Beautiful.
steal everything.
He is a cockroach with a beautiful hair and a beautiful smile, but still he is a cockroach.
And I love when he says a line and Val, like, even though she doesn't say anything, just flips a look at him like, are you still here?
Right.
I know. I was like, girl, use your words, because I know there's something sarcastic into that southern tongue.
No one's talking to you, Chip.
So
But
Gary's
actually,
lawyer.
every time Val comes in the room and Chip's there, it's like, you're here in my house, leave. Little cockroach with good hair and a smile.
Can we talk about his last scene with Lily Mae, or is it too soon yet, Tommy?
It's too soon yet.
Okay.
Mhm.
So Gary's lawyer is explaining what his best options are. And Abby notices that he's not even paying attention. And she tells him pleading not guilty means acting not guilty. So she's trying to find a way to reduce his jail time, thinking that maybe if he goes to a sanitarium, that'll get him out of prison for a little bit.
True.
And the lawyer's thinking that's not going to happen.
Right.
Kenny and Ginger just moved to Nashville, and that's pretty much it for them.
Their last scene, though, I thought it was interesting.
I mean-
Their last scene is them laying in bed, not
Right.
moving, not packing, just laying in bed with the Knox Landing theme playing over them.
I mean, they don't get to say goodbye. I really feel bad about this. They're on the show 4 years. They don't get to say goodbye. There's no last scenes anyway. Well, Ginger has a last scene with Laura, but that's it. Like, nothing. Bye-bye.
It
They
is
literally never knew what to do with them. They were
Right.
in the pilot and then didn't show up again until episode 4.
It
And
is
they
kind of
never-
Right.
right. It's
And-
kind of
and-
surprising.
Could you imagine being the actress that plays Ginger and going, "Oh, I'm a singer, and we've talked about this. Let's bring on a whole new character who gets a whole
Right.
storyline about releasing an album and that. But I've been here since season 1."
It's
And-
kind of a surprise with the writers that somebody didn't catch this, because in season 3, when Karen was first a widow and her old college friend came to town that was the designer, and she was trying to talk Karen to moving to New York, Ginger got really upset because she didn't want Karen to leave, because she didn't
Right.
want Karen Molly to be separated from her godmother. And now Ginger doesn't even have a goodbye scene with Karen. They're just like, well, we're gone. We're going to move. You don't need to be near your godmother.
Yeah, I always thought she saw Karen as sort of like almost a motherly, a very big sisterly figure, So, but yeah,
They definitely
nothing.
shuffled them off. They gave Richard definitely a more poignant goodbye than what they did Kenny and Ginger.
It was kind of a
It
big
was
Richard
letdown.
had storylines.
Right?
They had potential that they could have done with those characters. I think
And-
what sucks is there's that age gap between the married couples.
Right.
Yeah.
They were the
So,
newlyweds, the young ones.
Yeah, they were the newlyweds starting out, still new to the career. Like they probably would have succeeded more in Melrose Place.
And Aaron, I know it's your first time around. They're literally never mentioned again.
Oh, I figured they would be.
We might see Ginger again.
Yes, you might see Ginger again, but not for a very, very, very long
Very
time.
last episode, return to the
Maybe
cold.
not even then. There you go.
I
will say-
Laura is unaware that Richard's gone because like they don't sleep in the same bed anymore. She doesn't know anything's up until the restaurant calls looking for him,
It takes a while.
and then immediately she's like, "Richard did it. Richard killed her."
I know.
I know it.
She's
And then
like,
Karen
That's
gets all offensive again.
Oh my god, that big hammy scene. She's like, he did it! He did it!
I feel like that was her the whole episode. Nope, he did it. I know he did it. He never likes her.
How many times did Laura go running up the stairs angry?
Oh my
over
God.
Richard?
See, I could buy Richard doing it though. Maybe he had a mental break and
Right.
accidentally killed her.
Well, we didn't see him. He showed up very late at that night at the restaurant when it
Yep.
was CG's album premiere.
He's definitely a big suspect for me. He always was in this, yes.
I mean, I know who it was, but I won't spoil that. But I still, Richard would have been like to me out of all the characters there, suspect number uno,
Mm-hmm.
numero uno.
So
Just
Chip is
because-
preparing to move to New York with Diana,
Ugh,
and he
Diane.
manipulating young women to the very end. He has these two neighborhood girls washing his car,
Right?
Mhm.
which I thought was good continuity that he was returning the car from Not Signing Motors that Diana
Right,
had him early
right.
in the season. I was like, I like little things like that.
Here's what I don't get with Diana though. She has lost her father.
uh-huh.
She's one parent down,
hmm
in a way speaking. You think that would change a person to maybe make her act a little different towards her mother, who honestly just cares about her.
Right.
She's in love.
She
With a
thinks.
cockroach.
And Karen lets her know that he's a cockroach and that he's going to start cheating on her and all this stuff and rips into it. And Diana, at that point in time, just keeps folding her laundry and keeps her cool.
Right, that's a
So
great
her mom
scene.
leaves the room and says, "Goodbye, mother." And it's like,
Mhm.
ooh, that's cold.
Well, she says to Diana, "Did you know she was pregnant?" And
How do you know that?
And
Diana's
Diana
just
didn't
like,
know that, right?
Diana's just like, CG just made demands on him.
I demand you make me pregnant. Oh my god.
You know, I thought this time, like, she cleans out her bank book and she says, I got $3,000. I'm like, you know, back then that was probably a good sum of money for, you know, she's like 19 at this point, right? The character.
Right.
So, big
Well-
savings. That was her Not Landing Motors inheritance.
In Aaron's 2022 world, $3,000 is still a nice chunk of change.
You're like, go, Diana, you have a lot of money.
I would love $3,000. I don't know. I just still I don't care for Diana. I don't know what it is. I just have never cared for her. Have you noticed how Michael's like he is aging so quick? Like his voice is starting to change.
Yep.
Like he was talking to. I was like,
I don't even remember seeing Michael.
They're like in one scene.
Yeah. But I just remember thinking, oh, your voice is about to be that. The like, you know, when on a child on a show, they go
Sure,
from
yeah.
one season, it's like, hey, next season, hey, mom, how's it going? You know, Michael's on the cusp of
Right.
being, hey, mom.
We got 10 more seasons. You get to see him grow into an adult.
Mhm.
I know that's gonna, yeah. After we finished this season, I went, John. You know, we're on season 4. We still got 10 more years to go.
And a reunion miniseries.
It's like,
Yeah.
we have 10 more years. It's you know, which
Yeah.
that's not even.
The whole thing.
I mean,
75 episodes down, 265 episodes to go.
it's like 2 shows in one.
So Chip has his goodbye with Lily Mae.
This was
I
good.
I put, but not before giving one last overwritten goodbye speech.
Oh.
Right. But he
See,
gives
that's
her
what-
that butterfly pin, and I'm going to mention that because it's very poignant. Because you'll get to see that pin again someday, Aaron.
Oh, do we? I don't even know this.
My memory serves me correctly. I'm not going to
Okay.
give away the scene, but
I don't
there-
remember this.
that butterfly scene. That butterfly pin is significant, and I'm glad the writers remembered it. So that's why I want to point it out now to kind of plant that seed in everybody's memory.
I just kept waiting for, Chips. We know he's abusive because the private investigator, or Tony, because we learned he's Tony.
Right. Tony's.
I kept waiting for him to just hit on Lily May.
I kept thinking about you, Aaron, when you were mimicking Lily May at the end of season 3 when she's like, I saw some butterflies. About Abby and Gary.
Oh.
Did.
I don't even remember that. We filmed so many episodes. I need to go back and watch.
But it is funny how even as he's going out the door, Chip is trying to get some sort of retrieval because he was in shock, and you could tell he was shamed when Lily May told him to get the hell out of the house, or get the fuck out of the house, as Aaron would say, because he didn't want that from her. Because
No.
she did kind of believe in him, and he was disappointed that he let her down.
He's got a childhood trauma that we haven't found out
Yeah.
about it yet. Because he's just the need to. He's a people pleaser, and he's willing to do whatever he needs to do to make someone like him or think he's gonna.
Right.
He's good.
But is it that deep, or is he just an opportunist? I always have a hard time with Chip because I can't tell if it's all just one big game to him, or is there something heartfelt somewhere in there? Like does he generally feel bad when Lily May finally kicks him out and was kind of done?
See, I feel like Abby's more of the opportunity. Blah 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 blah.
Opportunity.
Whereas Chip's just like someone hurt him bad.
Right. I think Chip looks at Lily May almost like that's his mom, and he thinks he's going to get unconditional love. And when she rejected him, that's why he felt so guilty and dejected.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
And CG rejected him too, and he didn't like that at the end. It was kind of like, you can just leave. I'll raise the baby on my
Right.
own.
But then he got violent towards her. You know what I mean? He never got violent towards Lily May because, again, I think he just looks at that as elder versus peer. You know what I mean?
Well, okay, so
Right,
I'm
right.
glad that you said that he got violent, because the private investigator that comes, Lily May keeps talking about Gary. So now the private investigator thinks that maybe Chip is going by Gary until he shows her the picture of Chip and says, "This is Tony Finese. He's wanted for
Right.
battery in Seattle." So he is abusive.
Right.
Hmm.
Yep.
When she folded up that piece of paper, I was like, don't you hide that information, Lily May. I've liked you for 3 episodes straight.
Right. Right.
Don't you do something that's going to change my opinion on you, girl.
Well, so then later on, Lily May shows Karen the
Mm.
paper because she said some investigator came. And when she sees and says that he's wanted for battery in Seattle, Karen goes running home looking for Diana and finds her room empty. And she's already
Great
left.
scene.
That
Love
was
love
a
it.
Classic
That
scene.
was like, yeah.
Yeah.
How many times did they have to film that piece of paper falling just right on the stairs?
Right, I thought of that too. Face up.
See, you're thinking about that. It's like, man, that carpet's ugly.
And then she runs up the stairs screaming Diana, and when she gets to the top, she opens the door, and the background music stops. Everything just goes quiet.
Right.
And she looks in the
I wonder if
closet.
Michelle Lee was ever like, can I get some chamomile tea? I yell so much.
Right.
Well, most of the time she's yelling, Diana!
Or Mac.
Yeah, it's true.
So Val goes to see Gary, and automatically he does not want to talk to her. He's banging for the guards. But she gets his attention,
Right.
I
and
love
she
this
tells
thing.
him,
Great scene.
she's like,
That is a great scene.
you blacked out, you used to black out all the time, and you only know what I told you you did. You don't know all of it. And she tells him that he would hurt himself, but he would never hurt somebody else.
That made him stop and think.
Mm-hmm.
I just liked how she was kind of just like, there's a killer out there.
Right.
you playing this pity party is stopping that person from being found.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was so well
And the
written
moment
and so
she
well
went like
acted.
that, they're just like, ooh, Abby's gonna be so mad because that mean Val was able to do what she couldn't do and
Right?
make Gary think about it.
And that's kind of how the season ends. We see, Abby fires the lawyer,
Right.
and she wants
What's his
West
name?
now?
James Westcott,
Yeah.
who's with
The
us all
lawyer
next
who won't be able
season.
to get him out of jail.
Yeah, he was on earlier in the season, and I know he plays a bigger role in season 5.
Right. They
And he always looks like he wants to sleep with Abby. Always is looking at her with puppy dog eyes.
Right.
Oh yeah, I keep wondering. I'm just like, how long until y'all two hook up?
they kind of ended the season with a very poignant scene where it's Abby just quietly sitting out looking at the ocean on the deck, that then crossfades to Val just sitting, and you see a profile shot of her in her living room chair just sitting in silence, to then it crossfades to Gary just sitting there in jail thinking about all this, going, what have I done? And that Abby Val scene, Aaron, you'll start to see that for several years in the scrolling credits going
It's in the
forward.
credits for a long time. It's great. But yeah, but I love how they go from the Karen scene running across the yard, and then it goes into that final scene with
Yes.
Gary. Yeah, and Val. It's really
Just
amazing.
kind of showing the desperation is really what
Yeah.
the cliffhanger is, on how everybody's lives are all disheveled and there's really no
Except
answer.
for Kenny and Ginger, they're fine.
They're in Nashville.
They're
Bye.
heading to-
As the
they're
U-Haul
heading to
pulls out of the
stash.
short cul-de-sac.
Like,
They should have showed that. They should
I
have showed like
mean-
the U-Haul pulling away.
Shut up.
we don't even get anybody. It's the only people that leave the show, and nobody else moves into their house for the entire
Right.
series.
You don't see any action in that house anymore.
No, nothing.
Oh, that's right.
I don't even think there's a camera angle on the house ever again.
Practically
They
not.
They were kind of like, you're not part of the circle part, you're out.
Yep.
These names aren't spoilers because Aaron doesn't know. But the Williams move into Laura's, and then
Right,
Claudia moves
and then Claudia moves into Abby's house. Yeah.
And then Kenny and Ginger's nobody moves into.
Yep.
Wait,
Right.
so when does Laura leave the cul-de-sac?
Round.
I don't know.
We don't know.
She
We don't
married
know.
that Sumner guy.
Right.
Well, yeah.
She does a lot of back and forth.
Aaron, you're gonna love Laura in season 5. It's like, here comes Laura, a whole different character.
Yes.
Very strong. Very
Because
strong.
Laura is very strong in season 5.
She's like, I'm not gonna be anybody's put down wife ever
She can't be a
again.
victim anymore. And she has
Nope.
to do what she's got to do.
I would
Do you-
love
do you-
to get Constance on this show.
Aaron, do you remember when
That'd be amazing.
Ginger's baby shower in season 2 when Abby and Laura are in the
Wow.
kitchen and she's like, "You're such a slut."
I
Yeah,
love
it's
it.
one of my favorite episodes.
I love
That's
it.
the Laura you're gonna get going forward.
Yes.
She knew I was going to be watching this in 2022.
Oh my God.
She was saving it for me. Ugh.
Slap.
So let's start off with Aaron. Aaron, what would you rate this episode?
This episode would get a 9.5 from me.
Nice.
I'm just gonna go with a 9 for all 4 episodes.
Oh, you.
We've
I'll
been
say,
rating
I'll
it
say a
individually.
9 for this episode myself. Yes.
I'm giving this one a 10. I love this episode. I love the final 10 minutes. It's just classic Knots Landing. It's great.
Nice.
It's a great episode. It's
Right.
not my favorite season finale. That's why I don't want to give it a 10.
But it's a
But-
good one. It's a good one.
good-
It's
it
like,
is good. This
It is kind of weird, though, to not see like a major cliffhanger on a soap.
but so, yeah, I mean, it's the first cliffhanger that involves more than like, I mean, the prior season was really just about Val leaving Gary, you know, and
And
the prior
Karen.
season of that was really about,
Yeah.
right, and then
Sid going off the cliff.
Sid going off the cliff, and
Now
So
that-
here's where, and I'll be curious, so I want Aaron's opinion on this. This was a really big turn, if you will, for Nuts Landing in season 4 versus seasons 1, 2, and 3. Would
Yeah.
you not agree?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
it's
I mean,
full
you
on soap
definitely-
now.
You got more of
It's
this.
Drama, soap.
Right.
Right.
Oh, well, season 5 is going to be soap.
Yeah. There's no. It keeps going.
But
I
again,
don't know
think
when
I'm
it
gonna-
starts, but I know in the maybe season 6 or 7, the premiere of every season, it takes about 15 minutes before you get into the actual episode because they do like the scenes of like they do of like what's gonna happen.
Such
Then
a
they do
recap.
then they do the very long opening credits, which are like 2 minutes, and then they do like a recap of the previous season,
The whole season.
So it's almost like a quarter
Right.
after
Right.
before you actually start the premiere of like the first episode.
I know.
I
like,
mean, they'll do it very quickly. The last little bit in first episode of season 5, but you're right. Somewhere around season 7, it's like a good 10, 15 minutes.
But when
Yeah.
I realized that was happening, I
first
actually
15
look
minutes.
forward to it every season.
Me too. Yeah.
the first 2 minutes of the episodes now are always just. I'm like, I'm on a time crunch.
Ooh, fast forward. Aaron doesn't usually do that.
Wow.
No, I
You don't
know,
watch-
'cause I
you
love
don't
the
watch the
theme song.
credits?
I did at least 4 episodes. I didn't have time. When
I
you,
hear you.
I've been sucked into 2 shows. Who Killed Sarah? Definitely watch it. And Locke's Landing.
Right.
It's difficult.
I think what was very fortunate for Knots Landing, good writing this season, but I'm going to say it. Lisa Hartman
Yep.
helped raise the bar big
Yep.
time.
She
Big
sure
time.
did.
She brought in a different audience. Yeah, she really.
The
It's
fan
funny,
base went nuts, and that's why when they killed her off, the fan base went nuts over it, and there'll be
I'm-
ramifications from that.
I wonder if that's why, like, okay, a lookalike comes, we know it, but I wonder if that's the whole reason the lookalike comes was they're just like, all right, we can't lose these fans.
They
Like, oh,
Yeah,
sure.
they knew they didn't expect the audience to have that strong of a reaction, and when they did, they wanted to keep feeding off of that to see what they can do. So I'll just leave it at that. Even though you maybe know bits and pieces, I still want you to
I
kind of
just,
have the
I just
full reveal.
know they bring on a lookalike, and the whole reason her name was Kathy whatever is because her initials would be CG.
Kathy Gary CG.
Yeah, and I thought that was very clever on their part.
Yes, agreed.
It's just funny because the whole youth part, which I think they always craved and tried to do with Kenny and Ginger, finally clicked with CG. You know, it was like
Right.
a 25-year-old character, a little younger than everybody else, but she just
I
caught
bet-
on.
She had that spark.
Yeah.
Yeah, seeing Ginger, no offense to the actress, did have it. I think,
Right.
now, no offense to the actress that plays her, had Lisa Hartman been playing the role of Ginger with Kenny, we'd be going down a
interesting.
very
Yeah.
different tunnel.
Agreed.
Because Kenny, he's so cute. And when him and CG were together, I was like, okay, I see something. If they would have maybe done a love triangle with those 3, Ginger and Kenny may have been able to hang on a little bit longer.
A little longer.
Ginger just was so blah.
Right.
It wasn't her fault.
No.
This was my first season that I watched because I came in at the end of season 3, like that very last scene, and I was like,
Yep.
"What's going on here?"
Yeah.
And then I just kept watching.
But it's those
Should we rate-
mid-season episodes where, like, you know, CG's singing in every episode where they all start going to the club, where they're all in the same story, and Daniel and everybody has a part of it. Diana,
It was very interwoven very well.
very well, and they will emulate this and build on it each season now for a while.
These
Yeah.
last 4 episodes, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, Mac has only been here 22 episodes.
I
Feels
forgot.
like forever.
I
it
was
just
like,
feels
no,
like
he
he's always
came
been
last
here.
season. It was like, it's like
Right.
Sid who?
It feels like her. Feels like her
Definitely-
going to the office and trying to get him to investigate Sid's murder. That feels like 3 seasons ago.
Yeah.
Like I forgot all about Sid until she accidentally called Mac Sid. I went, oh yeah, you did have another husband, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Mac is just
They lucked out that they had such good chemistry
Yes.
and that he was received well by fans, that it just
Correct.
was so seamless.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those
But
breezy
should we
moments they have.
Should we grade the season as a whole?
We can.
I'd give this a 9. Like so far, every season they've improved.
Right.
I think a 9 is fair.
What do you want to say, Tommy?
I think a 9 is fair.
Okay. Because he's thinking ahead too. I know, I can see it.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I gauged it just on seeing 4 seasons like Aaron, I'd probably give it a 10.
Yeah.
Because I enjoyed Lisa Hartman that
It takes a
much.
lot
Yeah,
for me to
me
give
too.
something a 10.
Yeah.
Like
know.
I'm gonna need to laugh, cry, feel sad. Need to turn on some sad music to get all those sad emotions out for it to get a 10.
Right.
I see
mean-
some 10s in your future, Aaron.
But even when I look back on the whole series, this is probably still like for me, like the third or fourth best season of the whole series. I loved it.
Right.
10. And it just
Really
sets the
good.
stage for season 5 is amazing. So it just sets the stage season 5.
All right, well, thanks for joining us, guys. I'm glad you could finally get on, Bill.
Oh my God, the operating difficulties. I'm so sorry, everyone.
Okay.
As always, you can find us at Queers and Soaps on all the socials, and join us very soon for another episode of the Abbey Scale. Until next time, have a great night.
Bye, guys.
Bye.